Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and welcome to While You're Reforging. This is my weekly show where we hang out together and just talk hobby, news, hobby progress, all that kind of stuff. Lots of things to talk about this week. So, if you are new here, welcome. I do this every Friday. I mean, regardless of other live streams I do, which are typically more just hobby hangouts or things like that. This is more of a formulaic show where we talk about one big topic of the week, usually brought in by my awesome patrons over on Patreon. And beyond that, we just kind of hang out and have fun and give you something to listen to while you paint. So, while the chat is filling up, I was going to give it a second. Just going to ask someone, just let me know that everything looks and sounds okay. We had some weird things yesterday where somehow the broadcasting software I use updated and it changed the bit rate, I found out later, and that's why it was like sputtering the video. It was very strange. So anyway, we're going to get right into it. So, when I do this show, I always start off with hobby progress. And boy howdy, do I have a lot. So, yesterday, if you were joining me, we were painting up this Varengar for my good buddy. Actually, I can probably do better light-wise here. We'll turn this off. There we go. So this is a Varengar for my buddy Craig over at Takeover Mars. And he's not quite done yet. Today I'm going to be doing some red glow effects, kind of like how Games Workshop does power swords almost on here. So I'm excited about that. And beyond that, honestly, the last 2 days, I can't really fit it all on my table, to be honest with you. But it's been nothing but building and priming because I've only had yesterday and today of good weather to be able to prime, or 2 days ago and yesterday to prime a bunch of models. And so, what did I build? I built the entire Indomitus set, the Warcry Catacomb stuff, all that terrain, the Battle of Pelennor Fields for Middle-earth battle strategy game, or strategy battle game, whatever it is, whatever the acronym is. And, what else? Oh, 2 Warcry bands. I got the stuff, the Scions of the Flame, and there was another one, the Unmade, because I don't have the Daughters of Cain one. That's what my buddy Craig took. So, yeah, been doing good with all this stuff. So, tons of priming. Primed all of my Imperial Fist stuff, as you can see here, with the Army Painter Yellow. And, yeah. Rerolling Ones Jack says, take your brushes out of the water. Well, I don't know. They've been in there since yesterday, and you know what? They've been in there a lot longer before that. Yeah, they're fine. These are, I have these 2 brushes. I have a black mark on them somewhere. Basically, I use them exclusively for mixing, so all they have to do is go paint pot, water, and I can just leave them there. That is their purpose in life. So, let's see here. We got some people pouring in. Awesome. So that's it for my hobby progress. Like I said, not a whole lot of finished things. We got pretty far on this guy yesterday. I'm just going to highlight some of the Balthazar gold trim and then do the special stuff on the sword. I didn't realize how small his face was. Like, his head is big, but like 90% of it are these horns. And so I just need to kind of touch up a few things there, and he'll be just about done. So I'm liking him quite a bit. Craig's going to take care of all the basing and that kind of stuff, so I don't have to worry about that, which is nice. Because I think he has like a specific scheme he's trying to make them all match. And honestly, basing's the best way to do that. So that is it for me for hobby progress. What I'll do is throw it over to you guys. What have you been working on? And while your answers are pouring in, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to move on to our next segment here, talking news and new features and all that stuff. So, it was not the busiest week in terms of... So, let me just say, when I do the news thing, it's not like every article for the last week. It's just stuff that really stands out to me. And there was not a ton going on, I think, because we're going to have a lot of news tomorrow. If you don't know, Games Workshop is doing a reveal show tomorrow, and it's called, what is it, Decadence and Decay. So my assumption at this point, based on the little teasers they've been giving out, is it's going to have Hedonite Mortals for AOS, which is amazing. That's my thought. Or at least a unit for them, okay? That's my thought. Secondly, I think it's going to be, what is it? Death Guard. I don't know why I always forget Death Guard. I think they have way too many factions with death in the name. I get them all confused because I'm like, it's not Death Watch. Nope, not that. Definitely not that thing. Let's see. Got some other people off to work. See you later, Jack. Go get that bacon so you can buy all the armies. All of my armies. There's a lot of talk around Sigval, which we can... I tell you what, let me look at a different tab, see if I can find that. There was a specific picture that makes us think that it's going to be Sigval. Let me try and pull that up while we're just hanging out here. Warhammer. Boom. But other than that, it's been a pretty darn good week. Yeah, here we go. So let me... I'm just going to bring this picture over to this side here for a hot sec. This is the comments below it, but as we're looking at this, you can see we have what I'm pretty sure, I think we can all agree is like a slash symbol going upward, melting into the body. There's some people saying like this is like Sigvald. To be perfectly honest with you, Sigvald is a character from the old world, in case you didn't know. I have no interest in him coming back. I would much rather have homages to the old world rather than direct ports. Like I said this in a chat today of like, if there was a unique, awesome Fire Slayers unit that was like not a named unit or, you know, a unique one, but it was just like the Sons of Gotrek or something like that, I'd be much more interested in that than actually Gotrek getting hawked up into the mortal realms, but that's an opinion. Hey, everyone's allowed to have them. So, yeah. Let's see. So that's kind of the thing we've been looking at. Ooh, Alexander, I reckon that one is a striking scorpion. That would be rad if they finally got over to Eldar. I like that. That's actually the most compelling theory I've heard. Okay. So now what we're going to do is head over to the news section here. And like I said, I just pulled out 3 articles that stood out to me. The first one is Games Workshop is continuing their coverage of what they call the Meta Watch, right? And what this is the first one was more AOS focused. This seems to be more 40K. But what it is they're just kind of taking data that players are putting together. I know for AOS, they really focus on AOS Shorts, or AOS Shorts Dan, his content specifically, which is a wonderful website if you're looking for a resource. I like that kind of stuff. And it's funny because I was talking yesterday when the article went up, I believe. And someone in the chat had mentioned like they kind of, eye rolled to the idea of like the Meta Watch because it's all about competitive play and that kind of stuff. And initially I completely understood. But the thing that I went back with is that it's super important to take a look at these kinds of things. And I know this is 40K and I don't do a whole lot of 40K coverage here, but the principle is the same for AOS. So just keep that in mind. It's important to know this kind of stuff, not because I have any intention of going to an event, Lord and Heaven, and just rocking the field with whatever's the most powerful or broken. Instead, I think it's really important to look at these kinds of things because this is what the perception of these armies is, right? When someone is walking up to a game store, I gave an example how we were going to do a Path to Glory. Oh, Cody, I'm not salting you, buddy. You're good. No, it was a fantastic point of conversation, and I really appreciated it. So you are good. Because I also have that same kind of hesitation. Like, I don't care about the meta, but I care about people's perception. And the reason why I put it out there was because we were doing a Path to Glory thing, and it was right when Flesheater Quartz was at their most nasty, so to speak. And there was this idea of like a new person shouldn't play Flesh Eater Quartz in a Path to Glory game, even though they have no concept of how powerful it is. They don't know any of this stuff. They didn't know any of the combos. They were going to lose every game because they just didn't know how to play Warhammer, right? I mean, it had nothing to do with Flesh Eater Quartz. But the perception was this army is so good that it would not be fun for anybody else. And so when I look at this kind of stuff, we can see an overwhelming amount of the table here is the Imperium armies. Now that breaks down pretty harshly, but it is almost all Space Marines. And what I do like is that they broke down each of the various types, and not even like, this is what I think AOS needs to do more. I don't quite know the best way to do it, but essentially, like, it's not just Space Marines are the best. It's look at all the different kinds, right? We have Blood Angels coming in, I think, 4.4. I don't see anything that's higher than that. Yeah, they would be the highest. Ultramarines, Salamanders behind them, and it goes down from there. All, 6 Death Watch players, rock on, dude. I love it. And I think that kind of stuff's important because when people go, "Oh, Space Marines again," I look at this and I'm like, there's a wide swath. Like, they all operate in that 4 to 2% kind of ratio. So, like, and they play very differently. They can, because the Salamanders one, as my buddy Ben Etriide, who's in the chat now, they're nasty with all the other little rerolls they get. But I know from what I've been studying, like, I am building an Imperial Fists army, which is down here in the 1.8. They have completely different tricks. You know what I mean? And so, yes, it's the same models, but I think this gives us a more realistic perspective that it's not just like Space Marines. I don't know. So, Trevor, yeah, they are all Space Marines. Of course they are. Yes, they all use the same data sheets, of course, but they're very different. Because, in this example, let's say, Space Marines account for 33% of total data collected, right? Let's say Blood Angels were 18% of that 33. We would look at that, we'd be like, there's something not right about that. That is the same thing equivalent to me of the Flesh Eater Court player who, is Flesh Eater Courts the problem? No. Gristlegore was the problem. In that scenario, it's nice to have that information so we can look at that. So yes, Space Marines are the most prevalent, but within that, they are very well internally balanced. There's nothing that's so mega broken, that there's a stark difference. And I give a little shout out here because Black Templars and Death Watch, they are a very specific kind of thing. There's frankly more restrictions than there are rules for them. So I think that's an interesting thing. And so that is why I believe this kind of information is really important. So when people start complaining online, we can respond intelligently and just be like, actually, first of all, Space Marines are the easiest army to get into, and that matters a great deal. They're the cheapest because people are just chucking stuff up on eBay. But within that, once you get past that, there's nothing so blindingly bad that it's miserable to try and play. Same thing with Xenos. We can look at this and be like, oh, it's interesting because Harlequin used to be nothing, and Yannari used to be like, these two used to be like inverse at one point, and that was kind of interesting. I don't know. So it's just, I like this kind of stuff for that reason. I don't care about the competitive stuff. I didn't expect Death Guard to be at the top, to be honest with you. That's actually pretty interesting. But yeah, and that's pretty much the only reason I look at those kinds of things. Let's see. That's pretty much it. Let's see. Top, what is it? Tournaments and winning positions. So we got, Salamanders, Harlequins. I knew my buddy Ben was a power gamer at heart. He acts like he likes story stuff, but it's a facade. This is great. Well, that's a great thing. Little faction breakdowns. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's oh man, I wish I had gone to this first. A definitive ranking. I'm not gonna lie, nothing has made me want to be a Death Watch player more than seeing them on the absolute bottom. That's just who I am. Or Death Watch, not Death Guard. Yeah, I'm down there at the Thousand Suns as well. That's awesome. So I don't know. I like this kind of stuff. I'm not gonna go too much more into it, but that's why I think statistics do matter. And I like looking at them from that perspective because it's how people approach armies and games and that kind of stuff. Now the next one, Blood Bowl, the game of fantasy football, is a game that I have a lot of interest in. I haven't had a chance to really review the new rule set, but it does seem much more streamlined. That picture that says Space Marines are underrepresented is kind of fun. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because a lot of people play Space Marines, not all of them do well with it, and I like that. Oh, man. So, let's see. We got here, this is just some of the art, and honestly, that's what really draws me into Blood Bowl, it makes no bones about it. It is meant to be funny and ridiculous, and I understand that there's still a competitive aspect, like people play in events to win and that kind of stuff. I just think that there's something so wholesome about, listen, this is a ridiculous game of ridiculousness. Everything from top to bottom is the dumbest stuff you've ever seen. Also, it has rules and one person can win, right? Like, it's all of those things combined where I just think it's fantastic. And I think a lot of that is due to having fantastic art that just conveys that lightheartedness. I like that quite a bit. A little nerdling on a football. Oh, I love it. I want to crop that into the scene of Doctor Strangelove with the guys riding the nuke. But yeah, so I think that's a fantastic little break, and I just like showing off art because they have a wonderful team of artists over at GW. Good on y'all. And I love the different art styles. Like this, his face is very different to something like the Garrote. I think they just have a little bit different styles in terms of detail. This looks more sketchy, or the other one looks more arty. But yeah, so I like that quite a bit. Doug, you're absolutely right about Blood Bowl. Oh, thank you. And then we're just going to move into, and this article just came out now, and I have not had a chance to read it. And it's essentially taking the rule aspect from Broken Realms and turning them into entire armies. This is something that we're talking about the other day on Warhammer Weekly in terms of, we get these new allegiances and ways to format an army and all different kinds of battalions and that kind of stuff. And so I just kind of want to talk about them. One of the things that I did like about the book, even though I don't have an interest in Daughters of Cain as a faction, if I ever did, like if someone just was just like, Doug, I'm going to buy you a Daughters of Cain army, you're going to paint it and play it, I'd be like, okay. Because why would I say no to that? But if I ever did, I would only play Melusai and Kinnerai. They're the only parts of the faction that really appealed to me, to be perfectly honest. And so, yeah, I don't know. The fact that they made specifically a sub-faction that's like all about them, right? I mean, to Kinnerai to a much lesser extent, I would say. But absolutely with the Snake Ladies, it's all about them. Even though I think the Kinnerai, I don't know. I think they were way cooler in the story than the Melusai, if I'm honest with you. Because the Melusai did their thing, where they're shooting people with poison arrows and that kind of stuff. But the Kinnerai are the ones that constantly, they're in the air, cutting off reinforcements, shutting off anyone getting away to, warn people. I think they were cooler in the books. Excuse me. Let's see. When are you not perfectly honest? Oh, I get accused of lying all the time. Once people start busting out the 2+ shill moniker, I get accused of a lot. One thing I did like, and it made me hover over the Idnith Deepkin buy button, was the Alapexes. Alapexes are my favorite model from that range. He goes, Alapexes, I like the Leviathan. I'm kind of wishy-washy when it comes to the Eidolons. I like some of the paint schemes I've seen for them, but on the whole, I think they're very busy to me with all the water effects and that kind of stuff. I love the range, so to speak, but I don't know. Alapex is really just our king for me. And so they completely redid their war scroll. Now there's at least double the text, which just means they got more rules. They can literally do more. And one of their abilities is if this big old harpoon with a net shoots you, and all it has to do is hit, doesn't have to wound, you can't pile in. And that's massive when it comes to some of these larger blobs armies that, you can dictate their effectiveness. You know, I don't know, you can just dictate a lot of the battlefield by preventing them from getting all their attacks in. The math changes dramatically if all of, if all their attacks can't land, or they can't, go over the guy in front of them, assuming they have like a spear and they're on a 25 mil base, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Let's see. Daughters are so great for conversions, turning them into sisters Repentia at the moment. Oh, interesting. I wish the Blood Wreck wasn't the hero that made the Snakes battle line. It's not my fave. I actually really like the Medusa lady like on foot. I think she looks fantastic. But when you put her on top of the cauldron, it's not my fave. I don't know why. I agree with you. What shill means these days, actually liking GW stuff. Oh, man. No, I mean, it's more because, I have things I don't like. Hey, I don't like the Namarti Reavers, but the reason I've never said that before on the channel is because who does that help? Nobody. I just don't like the models. Anything with a bow I'm kind of dubious of because I think they break really easily. But that's about it. Like, I mean, this is what it is. But because I don't mention all the things I dislike, I'm 2+ shill. Now, here we go. Legions of the Varenspire. The idolaters can take any cultists as a battle line. That is huge. This means you can build an entire army based around your Warcry warbands, mix and match your Cypher Lords with your Splintered Fang, and make up an entire force of Iron Golem. That sounds expensive as all get out. What I like about the idolaters, and they only kind of put it as a footnote here, is they do something that I want GW to do in more armies, which is one of the allegiance abilities there is that you can pick a chariot and make it a hero, and it gives it all the keywords necessary, and you know what I mean? Like, and they just kind of buff it up to be it's not a named character, it's just a hero. You can play it as Rakor Gresh, who is the named character that it's supposed to be representing, but that you only have to take him specifically and have him be unique if you're using the battalion included. You don't have to take that. So just having a Chaos Lord on Chariot is a cool thing. Like, they didn't have to make a new model. They just gave me a new way to enjoy something that already existed. And I think that is how they should be doing a lot of these things. What if, I don't know, why couldn't they do the same thing with an Alapex? Or, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Or, what's another good example? Literally any chariot. Literally any chariot would be awesome to do that with. But yeah, I don't know. Or just taking mounts that maybe there's not a hero that's on a similar mount, that kind of stuff. So, and I like it. That's just the kind of stuff that I'm into, where it's, a lot of times people get frustrated. It's like, whoa, I didn't get any new models. I don't even know. And then it's all about the models. But to me, it's like, well, I don't know. For me, I'd rather just have more ways to play with things that I own. Like, I'm not, 100% into, like, I don't need the newest, hottest thing. But if you let me make a, what is it called? Knight of Shrouds on a black chariot or whatever they're called, or the black coach. I'm sorry, I don't know why. My brain is all misfiring today. If you let me make a hero on a black coach, you better believe that sucker would be in an army. Are you kidding me? That sounds amazing. Even though it would be terrible because he has this huge footprint. He doesn't kill a thing. It doesn't matter. It sounds awesome. So that kind of stuff, where it's like, there's so much in the model range as it exists now, that if you just did more of those things and unlocked ways to make them interesting or unique, or just kind of play around with different artifacts, make him a hero, that kind of stuff, it would be wonderful. And so, obviously I love these guys because I love my Warcry warbands. I got a whole wall of them now. But, I don't know. Steven says, I feel like it'd be more impactful if they gave him a hero war scroll, though, like Steam Tank and Stegodon. And that's true. I certainly won't argue that whatsoever. And it would be nice because then they can do battle line if type things. The only thing that I feel like is, I don't know. I feel like it's the smallest change with, like, what they did here with the idolaters is the smallest amount of work to do the most amount of change and make some things very cool. So instead of having to dump a bunch of new war scrolls all over the place, and they can just consolidate whatever the newest book is. Hey, this unlocks a certain kind of hero with some keywords, and its versatility then magnifies, because then you have stuff like artifacts of power, and in the idolater's case, he becomes a priest, which is really cool, because then there's all different kinds of prayers that they can do. I don't know. I think that's really awesome. So I like that quite a bit. Oh, and I decided if people have been enjoying watching me waffle back and forth between my next army project, I have really decided to go with flesheater quartz because I love the lore. However, with the caveat that I am going to get a few more Slaves to Darkness things, because I was like, planning a new project. As I was unpacking all of my, my miniatures and that kind of stuff from the move, and I was just like, I already have an army. I have a Slaves to Darkness army right here because of this idolaters thing. So if I just buy, what do I need? I need I want to buy the chariot, obviously, because I think that's just the coolest thing. And that's, honestly, I don't need much like that, and like a war shrine, and I'm pretty well set to go. So I'm gonna get those little things just so I can always have a Slaves to Darkness army in the background. But then the next actual project that I'm doing is going to be flesh eaters. So that's kind of what I settled on. Once I took Slaves to Darkness out of the mix, it got a lot easier. So, and next we have taking the God King's shilling, which is nice. It's essentially the Storm Keep faction, right? Where we now have Cities of Sigmar, which one in every 4 units can be a stormcast, and this inverts it to where it's stormcast, and 1 in every 4 models can be a Cities of Sigmar thing. The cool trick here is that the stormcasts can use their command abilities on Cities of Sigmar units. So I haven't dove into my stormcast battle tome to like figure out all the combinations and stuff, but I think that's a cool idea. At least thematically of it's just in the story. Broken Realms Morathi, it's about this is the last stand of the good guys in Anvilgard, like straight up. They're just like all hands on deck, couldn't care less what you're all about or where you're from. This song is annoying. Let me skip that. There we go. It was EDM, but with someone just kind of moaning in the background. Oh man. Oh, and there's some chatter about like which warbands and that kind of stuff. If you want to play effectively, I really do think Untamed Beasts are the single best for this, because not only are they battle line, but all cultist units gain one of the Marauder abilities where when you roll a charge, you take your lowest die and turn it into a 6. So that's fascinating because Untamed Beasts can get a Yodel core. Thank you. Oh man, that's funny. Untamed Beasts get a pre-game 6-inch move, and they can run and charge. And so when you stack all those things together, it's pretty awesome. And there's lots of ways in Slaves to Darkness to get reroll charges. And then there is old school elves, which I like quite a bit. It was one thing when I first read the book, and I was like, okay, like they're talking about all of these old elven units that came over, but what does that look like gameplay wise? And then they decided to make Har-Huron, which is the allegiance, and it really is all the different dark elves from the past that are still in the range, essentially. Yeah. Let's see. They don't really go into much detail, but yeah, basically it does have all the things. So you could do like Scourge Privateers, you can throw in, what do you got? Not Phoenix Temple, Order Serpentis, that's what I'm trying to say. And all the other stuff with the Witches and the Coven, Darkling Covens, that kind of stuff. So I like it quite a bit. I'm trying to remember what their rules are. I mean, just the fact that they can all be taken together, and I believe they can splash in 1 in every 4 could be Daughters of Cain unit, which is cool too. Wait, what about the old High Elves? Oh, they're gone, my friend. I mean, honestly, that line got gutted like a fish. Let's see. Someone asked for the Scions of the Flame rules. Let me take a look here. Let me see if I can find them. And that's the thing, like, the Warcry warbands, anything that has the cultist keyword, which they do, become extremely interesting. One might use the word tantalizing. Here we go. Okay. I will say, after building him, this is my favorite model. The guy who's just straight up on fire. Like if Fantastic Four was real and Johnny Flame or whatever his name is, like actually tried to ignite, he just started running around screaming like his head off. Okay, they move 6 inches. Pretty standard, 1 wound each. 6 up save. They are going to die in droves. None of the cultist units are particularly survivable. Let's see. Blazing Lord. One in every 8 models can be the Blazing Lord. Add 1 to attack's characteristic. Okay. 1 in every 8 models must be a champion. He has a wound characteristic of 2, which is annoying to keep track of, but it is what it is. 1 in every 8 models can be the Inferno Priest. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made with this unit's Flame Burst Pots, which is one weapon option that they have. Well, it includes any Inferno Priest. Now, here's the thing about that Flame Burst Pot. They like run up and chuck fire at people, and then they get into melee, right? Which is, it's cool, you know. I mean, it's a nice simplified version of what they do on the game board for Warcry. 8-inch range, you know, you ask an Ogre Mod Tribes player, like, what's your gunline army when they all just rocking these derpy pistols? You know, I mean, they have like the lead belcher, the cannon guys, but I mean, like, they also have a bunch of pistols. Not a ton. Not a ton. And abilities, all shall burn. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a missile weapon by this unit is 6, it scores 2 hits, which, you know, is one of those things, like if you got a large unit of these guys and just rushed them forward, you would be able to take, a lot of wounds before you lost your rerolling 1s to hit. You get exploding 6s with your ranged attack. And, yeah, I mean, they're not great, I'll be honest with you. But here's the thing. In Slaves to Darkness, there are 1,000,000+1 ways to get reroll to everything. Reroll saves, reroll hits, reroll wounds, whatever you think is most important. So, I mean, you can do whatever. Let's see. Do you think they will add anything to Cities of Sigmar soon? I have no idea. I'll be perfectly honest with you. No idea. I want them to. Honestly, I want them to redo... I want them to do to the Cities of Sigmar stuff what they did to the Slaves to Darkness Chaos Warriors and junk. Where, you know, they get new sculpts that look different and look dynamic and more AOS-y, but they're not so distinct that they don't meld in or invalidate the older ones. Because I've seen people playing games where they have the old Chaos Warriors and the new ones mixed together, and they look, I think, fantastic, because you have some that are more like, you know, stoic and trudging forward, and others are like rushing headlong. Those are the newer sculpts. I think they work really well together. Whatever art team was in charge of that did a phenomenal job of capturing what was great. But I do think, yeah, they need an update. Steve asked, didn't they just add 2 new cities to Cities of Sigmar? Yeah, I'm talking models. But yes, the fact that they are updating Cities of Sigmar with all these new... And all it takes is like a page, maybe 2, for Allegiance abilities to update and dramatically change the thickest of the books, kind of, when it comes to options, is pretty rad. I won't lie. It's pretty cool. So that is it. That's all I have for the news today. Let me pull up my little master sheet here so we can dive into the main topic for the day while I do some painting here. And I'll get my light set back up so we can paint and be able to see. That's a treat for everybody. And we'll go to the downward cam. And so the main topic for today came from patron who, his name on Patreon is Door. I'm not sure if that's an actual name, if he's from somewhere else, but I thought it was awesome. And he just frankly asked a few, what I'm going to call like beginner questions. Okay, great questions that a newer player is always going to ask themselves, ask their community, And I thought that would be a great way to kick things off. So let me get set up here. If you have any questions that you would like covered, go ahead and throw them in the chat, which I have now pulled up for myself in easy viewing. Let's see. Steve, did you go over the Sigvald teaser image? Yeah, I don't think it's Sigvald, but yes, I did. Let's see. Got this guy. Give me just a sec. Let's see. Need Bugman's Glow. We need Stag Brown. And I think I already have the silver out here. Yep. Okay. Cool. So we're good to go. Let's see. All right. Michael, the City of Sigmar model range is a bit old. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I would agree with that. 110%. You know, but it is the kind of thing where it does have models that are so iconic and so fun that it would not take much to update it, you know, in the style that I was talking about, where they take some newer sculpts and splash them in, and it's good to go. So we're going to move into Door's questions here. And that is D-O-R-R. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize if I'm not. I have a Midwest tongue. And his first question here is, when is a model tabletop ready? And I think that is a phenomenal question, because we hear tabletop ready quite a bit. Games Workshop likes to use the term battle ready, which, you know, they're saying the same thing. For me, you know, on one side, I like to say something like, quite frankly, it's done whenever you want it to be done. But I know some people like to have more detail than that. I know many events use a 3-color minimum. And honestly, if you put 3 colors on a model and then give it a quick wash, it will look fantastic. Straight up. I like that quite a bit. That's probably a good standard to have in terms of when you're first starting. Just grab 3 colors in a wash and you're offset and ready to go. As far as other stuff goes, you know, you can get into debates about like basing and that kind of stuff. Honestly, basing is a very small deal to me. I could not care less. If someone came to game night and they didn't have their models based, I'm not going to like draw attention to it. Who cares? Well, I guess not that I would draw attention if they weren't painted. But you know what I mean. Don't make people feel bad. For me, you know, when I consider a model tabletop ready, I've blocked out the main colors on it. And then I have gone back and added a wash and probably done the barest minimum of work when it comes to basing. By that I mean, just throw some GW texture paint on there, and give it a dry brush of a highlight color. That's about it. That's what I would call tabletop ready. And for those kinds of things, it's funny how much we don't... how do I word this? When you hold a model this close, like way up in your face, you can see all its imperfections, and you can be like, this model's not done, it needs this, this, and this. But I am somebody, and I have mentioned this on the channel before, big proponent of what I call 3-foot fabulous, which is, don't look at the model like it's 3 inches away from your face, because it's not 3 inches away from your face when you're playing this game. It's 3 feet away. So put the model on a table, step back a bit like you would be playing with it, and take a look then, right? It doesn't have to be amazing within 3 inches if you're looking for just tabletop ready. 3-foot fabulous, and you're good to go. And honestly, that's pretty easy to achieve. Because at that point, you're talking the main colors, you know, maybe if you want to get fancy, like a decal or something like that. If your faction has those, not every one of them does. You know, like Tyranids or something like that don't really have decals, I don't think. And I just think that would be a good kind of measurement that I always point people towards, is just, you know, don't hold the model. You're not picking your nose with these things when you're gaming with them, so just put it away. Step back a bit, get some perspective that it doesn't look like garbage because it's not a Golden Demon winner. And It's always, honestly, you know, that to me has always been something that people respond well to. You know, like when we've done, you know, game days or demos and that kind of stuff, and people ask like, well, how do I have to paint these? And you know, they get kind of bogged down in the logistics of it. It's just, it's easier than you think to make something look good from 3 feet away. This is a 28 scale miniature. Does not require much. Like, honestly, this guy, I'm still working on him, but as long as I like throw some skin color on his face, I'd be fine with putting him on the table. I don't care. Anything is better than gray plastic. Give you that. I do consider primer to be one of those colors in my, you know, in the 3 color minimum thing. Absolutely. Like, I just hosed this guy down with, I think it's called Demonic Yellow from Army Painter, and then went back and touched up a few spots that, you know, the wind took the paint away, kind of a thing. That's about it. Doug, I thought my palette needed a wash. This pales in comparison. My buddy Ben in the chat over there, he has a CD that I'm pretty sure was one of the first compact discs ever invented, and that thing, it is caked in paint. Plus, I'm gonna be gross here for a second and just say, when you get enough paint on here and you can peel it off like it's sunburned skin or something like that, it's that deep, gross kind of joy that you get, you know, where you're just like, ew, yes, it peels off. I like that. So there's that. Let's see. Oh, and just his eye thing. Yeah, he's got this cool little doodad on his eye. So that would be my thing. What I would suggest if you are trying to get an army painted to an acceptable level, decide on the color scheme, which is typically the hardest part, to be really honest with you. Decide on the color scheme and then prime it in whatever the majority of that color scheme involves. So obviously mine, I primed yellow because these guys' armor is going to be yellow. And then from there, you know, pick out 2 to 3 other colors that go with it. Grab yourself a black and a white paint if you want to add any kind of highlights or shadows or anything like that, and then give it a wash. That's typically what I encourage. I want to go back through this area with skin color and that kind of stuff, so I'm not super worried about being perfectly neat. Just want to get a nice coverage on. Here's a robot eye. This is my test model for testing out this specific kind of spray paint. I found out this week that GW stopped selling Avalorn Sunset in a can. Like, I called several local stores and they didn't have any. And then I looked online and I didn't see it. So I was like, weird. That peeling feeling is such a primal satisfaction. Thank you, Michael. Somebody's on my side. Rashawn, no one would realistically play this game with Golden Demon level painted armies. Okay, so Rashawn, super fun story. So Kelly Freiberg, who is a phenomenal painter, she did a lot of work with the Sylvaneth when they got released, like back in the day. So I was gonna give a demo day to a local game store, and I was like, hey, I needed a second army so that I can give demos. Does anybody want to, does anyone have like a small force I can borrow? And she offered me her like Armies on Parade winning, featured in White Dwarf, Sylvaneth. And I was like, I'm not touching those frickin' things. Are you kidding me? They're worth more than I am. I just thought that was fantastic. And she was so kind to offer them. Like, I can't give those into the hands of someone who's never touched a model before. I just thought that was so kind of her, but at the same time I was like, that is intimidating AF. She's a really sweet person. Met her at well, it's funny, she lived in Seattle, like not far from me at all. But it took until going to Nova to actually meet her in person. Which is not too uncommon, but just because Seattle's a crazy place. Can be. Actually, I'm gonna throw the Bugman's glow on his hair too, just to kind of block it out just a smidge. Just need kind of an earthy color. There we go. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so the next question, I feel like I answered that one. Tabletop ready, you know, just like I said, grab a colored primer and just kind of 2-3 other colors and give it a wash, and you will be set. As far as basing goes, that's up to you. I tend to do very minimal basing because it's not something I super enjoy. But, you know, that is an offensive anathema to people like Vince Ventrella who love basing and they use it to tell a story. And, you know, again, it's your own personal taste. Do whatever you want. You paid for it. Okay. Let's see. Will says, Doug, do you think factions already seen in Broken Realms narrative won't appear later in the books? Well, I'm torn. Because if they go like full Psychic Awakening style, then probably not. However, unlike the Psychic Awakening books, a number of the characters are clearly going to be continued into the next series. Like Van Brecht, who is the Stormcast, you know, hero, champion, named character of the book. Like, he clearly has an important arc to continue at later at some point in the Broken Realms. Doesn't have to be, you know, the direct sequel to Marathi. But later on at some point, I'm sure he will have some significance. And so, I'm sure he'll return. Now, if they'll give him rules again, like if he will have, you know, because he kind of had like a patrol squad for his rules this time. If they come back later and they're like, actually, we want to give him, you know, this is Van Brecht's wrecking house, you know, rules, and kind of bump him up a little bit more into something more important. I think that would be cool. I'm not worried too much about making a mess on this black here, just because the black was more for boxing out the space on his icon rather than actually painting in the black. So we'll go back later with the bed in black and pick that all out. There we go. That's how. Celestia Gray is always the base for my white colors, and I love it. It's actually probably my favorite GW paint, if I'm honest with you. I'm a big fan of grays. All right. Do you think the shadowy figure that helped Van Brecht was Be'lakor? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go into the next question here by our buddy Door. That is, essential amount of terrain for Age of Sigmar. Now this, I'm going to say Sigmar on a 6x4. That's kind of the standard table size for now, although that might change based on what Games Workshop's doing over there with 40K in terms of the minimum table size. What I would say is if you got yourself one big old centerpiece of terrain, like you know, one nice thing, and then maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 pieces around it, you know, just to kind of fill out the board, get some more terrain abilities out there. Probably all right. You know, I know that's probably not everyone's favorite, but the most important thing I believe is just having stuff that blocks line of sight, so that shooting armies can't just sit in the middle of the board and just hose everyone in gunfire. That to me is certainly, like, it's on my mind the most. Honestly, it's a great question for your local tournament organizer, like if you have anyone who likes to run events locally. Because knowing how they feel about terrain, I think, is more important than what some guy on the internet thinks. But that being said, I did have a chance. There's a video. It's not gonna go up until the end of the month at their request. But I did start partnering up with a little terrain company over on Etsy, and they basically gave me full reign of their catalog and were like, design tables for us. And so like I just kind of put bundles together and that kind of thing. So that'll be out at the end of the month. just kind of showcasing exactly what I said, like just like having a nice, strong centerpiece miniature, like like a tower or some defensive wall that blocks line of sight, and then around it a few other pieces that can trigger terrain abilities and that kind of stuff. I think is important. Okay, let's see. Hello there. Let's see. Okay, I'm just looking at the chat, make sure I didn't miss anything. But yeah, so I think that pretty much answers the question. There's not a whole lot to it. If just, like I said, I think the most important thing is what your local TO says, because what they think is going to determine more than me what you see on the tabletop. As for other stuff, I don't know. For me, honestly, I don't really like 6x4 games. If I'm honest with you, I don't even really like full 2,000 point games. Lately in my life, I've been much more into skirmish games, and they can go on as big a table as 4x4, like in the case of Necromunda. But beyond that, I'm like, do I use 6x4? That amount of space? Not really. But whatever. Let's see. Doesn't look like a Varengar. Oh, you're correct. Oh, I did I left the Varengar thing up. That's funny. Good call. I was painting it, and then I got sidetracked. Boom, there we go. Mainly I just wanted to put this wash on so it can take time to dry while I go over to the Varengar. Cleaned up the yellows that I needed to. Let's see, I got one more question from Dor, when it kind of a intro thing, and says, how do you give every unit a role? And that's kind of a... Actually, I need to wait. That metallic is still not quite dry, so we'll put him off to the side. And that's kind of more of a list building question, to be honest with you. Let's see. Hold on one sec, I'm just trying to find my corn red. Ah. All right. So, boom. Now I can put my little thing back up. Varengar, it's a Varengar. Get that paintbrush out of the water before I swim to... Oh, yeah. Come get it. Come and get it. No, this is my mixing brush. It's exactly what it's for. It has been ruined to the point of good for nothing else. That's why I do it. Okay, so we have got... let's see. Do you think GW focuses too much on Space Marines and Stormcast to the detriment of other factions? Well, they haven't focused on Stormcast in a while. I made a joke earlier about the holiday bundles that I was like, oh man, I'm really resisting the urge to be like, Games Workshop ignores Stormcast. They're going to get squatted or whatever. All the fear-mongering crap that people do. Just because they didn't have a holiday bundle, which honestly was a bit weird, if I'm not lying to you. I never tried this stuff before. It is Mixing Medium by P3, and it was on sale, and it's like... It is like thick. It's like thick boy thick. Damn, just a smidge of water in there. There we go. So yeah, I need it thin. And yep, paintbrush is sitting right in there. I think GW have made a conscious decision not to associate Stormcast with Space Marines. Maybe? I mean, I feel like they've never made the decision to associate them, and just players have. Okay, now we're just painting the... trying to do, I only did it once before. Well, I guess I did it a whole bunch, but the only other time I've done like the glowing blade thing is when I was doing Grey Knights at one point. We'll see. Okay. So yeah, the last question was about giving units a role. I don't have a whole lot to say about that. I'm not the best person to talk to when it comes to like list building and stuff. What I'll say is just whenever you are looking at a unit, you know, and think, you know, let's say you already own it and you're just thinking about what you want to add to a list. Just think about why you're taking it. Like, what do I want this to do? For me, I really like chaff units and that kind of stuff. Like, I like high speed, aggressive, in your face kind of stuff. But, you know, that determines a lot of what I buy. Let's see. Question. Do you use Reaper miniature paints at all? You know, honestly, there's just not a lot of places locally that stock them. I'm not opposed to doing other stuff besides GW. Like, I have some Army Painter paints that I really like. Some P3 ones are great. Yeah, no, so I'm not opposed to it at all. I just don't have a lot of it. I'm trying to get this guy to dry real quick. I'm actually gonna cover up this red so it doesn't dry quite as fast. Let's see. Oh, I missed some questions here. Got my dust-covered stormcast against my wife's lizardmen. Battle was like a child with a pea shooter, and she was running tanks. How can they fix power creep in AOS? I mean, make it like chess. It's honestly, it's going to be a thing. It's going to be a thing not only because honestly, it's not just because they always want to push models and that kind of stuff, but I think a lot of it is you can see the language of how they word rules has evolved since, I mean, just every year over year, they just change, a new gaming language and that kind of stuff comes about. And that does, it creates a power creep situation just inadvertently. So, yeah. Let's see. Calfry's the best of us? Absolutely. Question. Okay, I answered the Reaper miniature one. Will, what army have I not touched? Let's see. Flesheater, quartz, Maw tribes. Let's see. Actually, I'm gonna pull up the Games Workshop page here. Let's do a quick blow by blow. Okay, order. I've never done Sage of Sigmar, Daughters of Cain, Deepkin. I had some Deepkin at one point, and then I got rid of them pretty quickly. I guess you could say I've touched them at that point. Yeah. Sylvaneth for Chaos. I've painted Blades of Corn for other people, but I've never painted and owned my own. Slanesh, no real interest in Slanesh. And that's it for that. For Death, honestly, so I had some Death stuff that I painted up before any of them had a battle tome, like the AOS first dropped. So I've never touched any of the established factions like now. I guess Nighthaunt. I guess I bought that guy's Nighthaunt, my buddy Chris. It's not because I really wanted Nighthaunt though. It's more just to help him out. And then Destruction. Yeah, I've done Gloomspite. I've painted up some Gits. I've never done Maw tribes. And I painted up one Sons of Behemoth for rerolling one guys. Yeah, that's my comprehensive list of all the stuff that I have did. Did you ever finish your War Stomper Mega Gargant? I got it to a table ready spot and then where it was unbased and then handed it over to Jack over Early Ones and he finished it out. And now he owns it. And just throw a little bit more here. I don't know if this is going to turn out well, but the nice thing is I can it's pretty easy paint to get off. Feels like 40k has it way worse with power creep. I would agree with that, actually. You know, for being their, people use the term cash cow quite a bit. Man, that's a thing. It's a landscape that I can't keep up with, like straight up. You know, in terms of like having a good understanding of the game and that kind of thing. It's just like, man, there's just so much going on here. Okay. Just joined. That's the smallest Varengar I've ever seen on the table. Let's see. Have you tried GW's contrast paint line? Oh yeah, I got a whole bunch of them. Love them. Love them. Biggest fan of, what's my favorite one? Gilliman Flesh is fantastic. What else? I like that one quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, honestly, for each, what I would suggest if anyone is looking at contrast paints with fresh eyes. Sorry, one second, it started to pool up here. What I would suggest is pick your favorite color and then try to find one normal paint that is a good highlight for it, and then you are golden. That has, for me, like my favorite has been Gorgrunta Fur with Jacaro Orange, like just kind of evening it out a little bit. It's been fantastic. I love that paint. That's how I did the pants on my Corvus Cabal. And it came out great. Alright, so now yeah, I'm just going to clean up the opposite edge with some silver. And then we'll go back through with a little bit of an orange to kind of do like a really spicy highlight. I think that'll turn out well. Yep, so those are all the questions that I had when it came to new player questions. So if you have anything that you want to ask or know about or get at least one person's opinion on, go ahead and throw it in the chat. I will try to keep up. Contrast Black Templar, Talisar Blue are awesome contrasts. The Black Templar have very mixed... You know, it's one of those things, I wish it was just a hair thicker. I don't know why, but like I find that it flows a lot. And maybe I just need to, I don't know. I mean, if I'm using the same bottle, maybe the different bottle would help me out, but it just seems very intense. Let's see. Stormcast discontinued as sales plummet. News at 5. Exactly, yeah. Oh my god. They're going away. I'm just cleaning everything up here. There we go. We're at the side. Man, yeah, I thought that was really interesting, though. I mean, you know, I guess maybe they use the holiday bundles to kind of like show off. No, I was trying to think like maybe they show off whatever is most recent, but this year's none of those are super recent armies. Gloomspite getting 2 years in a row was pretty great. Although I'll be honest, I kind of like last year's more. The gore, it's more of a full squiggle inch. Actually, so fun story for y'all. So I'm trying to like, you know, I was kind of debating about what project I want to do next and all this kind of stuff. And I walk into a local store here, or up in Cedar Rapids, and I was like, you know what? Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to walk in here. I'm going to pick my favorite looking army. Whatever gets me the most excited, I'm just going to snatch it up, and that's what I'm working on. Okay? Which, is a great idea. Like, honestly, like just going with impulse of just like, whatever excites me in the moment of that kind of stuff, of like a next project thing, gets me excited for painting ideas, that kind of stuff. It's how I've done stuff before, and I always liked it. But I walked in there, and they straight up had like the holiday bundles from the last several years just sitting there, and I did not expect that. I was like, well, this just complicated everything in my life, because now I want every single one of these. Like, they had like the Slaves to Darkness one. I'm like, that's amazing. They had not just last year's Stormcast one, which was what is it? That was like the like all evocators all the time, like all on kitty cats and that kind of stuff. But they also had one from before then where it was like the Vanguard things. It was like, dadgum. Y'all could not have made this decision any harder. And so then it was a good boy. I left. I was like, you know what? If there's not a single thing that I'm excited about, I shouldn't buy anything. Yeah, they had most of them. If they had the flesheater box, I would have grabbed it right then. Like, this is something I was really considering. Sorry, I'm being a little quiet here. I'm just trying to not breathe while I, put paint on the model. We've all been there. Hype for tomorrow? Absolutely. Very much so. What I would say about tomorrow, one, I am going to do a live stream to cover it once it's all done. But also, I would just encourage people to, approach it with what I call an open hand, of just whatever comes, just take it at face value. You're going to have a bunch of people that are like, yeah, this isn't what I specifically wanted. And you're like, okay, well, they don't do business just for you. And that kind of stuff. So just kind of, if there's nothing that excites you, that's okay. You'll be just fine. We're also hoping for Soulblight. Yeah, lots of people were. No doubt. Okay. Let's see. What do you think will be revealed tomorrow? I think there's going to be at least one unit, if not a range, of Mortal Slanesh, and then Death Guard for 40k. That's my thoughts. That's my guess. Guesstimation based on... Oh, and then a bunch of Necromunda stuff, because we have seen images that are very clearly Varengar gang for Necromunda. Hope there's some Warcry stuff. Michael Chan, how do you go about staging a demo game without overcomplicating it someone with no background in wargaming? Yeah, so what I do, that's a fantastic question. So what I do is I pick the most boring war scrolls I can find, right? Liberators are phenomenal for this. Liberators and what's another great one? I don't know, just some of those things. You can do like Beast of Chaos. Like, honestly, some of the Beast of Chaos units have the least amount of text ever written. It's when someone kind of cuts you off in traffic and they're on a cell phone, and like rather than like wave or whatever, they kind of just hands on the wheel to kind of just like give a little finger to like thanks, just acknowledge you. That is the level of text that is in the Beast of Chaos war scrolls for the most part. So those kinds of things. So you take stuff where there's the absolute minimum amount of information possible. And that's an area where I think that the first AOS box set, the one that has Khorne and Stormcast, I think that actually was excelled at it. Beyond that, what I would say is you don't do any allegiance abilities, nothing like that. You can tell them after the game that there are other ways. There's more rules that we didn't quite go into. I didn't want to overwhelm you. This game can get very complicated, which, you know, is not a lie. You're not scaring them away. That kind of stuff. And then for me, the mission that I always choose is Battle for the Pass. It is my favorite. It's just because it's very simple in terms of, you know, hey, here's 4 points on the battlefield. You need to be there or be square, and that's just what it is, right? And that's the name of it, because I do think it's important to introduce the idea of missions, whether they're going to do, you know, narrative play or not. It doesn't really matter. I think understanding that, hey, this is a mission-driven game is a worthwhile thing to learn. What else? So that's how I run demos. I think one thing that's important is I always say people up front, hey, listen, I'm going to walk you through the first turn, okay? Because again, not a whole lot happens in the first turn. You're mostly just, you know, moving, essentially. Maybe throwing a hero phase spell out there or something like that. But so I say, I'll walk you through the first turn. And then from then on, I want you to ask me whenever you are unsure of what to do. Like, you know, because you want them to have their own experience, right? To make their own decisions. You get a sense of like what options are actually in this game, what options are available to these units, that kind of stuff. And then honestly, from there, it's just patience. Like you just, if they, you know, step back, if they kind of get into analysis paralysis, you know, give them a minute. And then if it just looks like it's going nowhere, just be like, is there anything I can help with? Yay, nay, okay. You know, and then if they say, no, I need more time, just be respectful. Because some people like that puzzle solving aspect, and it's important to them that, like, you know, I understand it of just like, if someone holds your hand the entire time and tells you what to do, you don't walk away feeling like you have played the game, right? You feel like somebody else kind of played it for you, right? And it makes sense. So be wary of that. Just be respectful of, you know, some people like to learn in different ways. Honestly, that's a question that I have definitely asked. I did a demo at a game store, Games and Gizmos, over in, well, it used to be in Redmond. I think they closed now. But, you know, a parent came in with his son, and his son was on a very, very high functioning end of the autism spectrum. And, you know, I just straight up asked him, I was like, how do you like to learn? And he was just like, you know, you do it once, and then I'm going to try and copy you. I was like, fine. So I played the entire first round against myself. And then for the second round, he jumped in. And so asking someone straight up, like, how do you like to learn things? Because there's so much to learn. Just kind of, you know, changing what you do to match what they learn, I think is a fantastic way to go about things. So yeah, Iron Jaws, yes. Alexander, yes, fantastic. Iron Jaws are some of the simplest war scrolls. If you're not getting into like allegiance abilities like smashing and bashing and artifacts, just skip all of it, right? Skip all of that noise. Let's see. There's my contrast medium. Here we go. And we'll do Flesh Terror's Red. Now I'm going to do like about 50 parts medium to 1 part red here. So I hope that helps. Anyone else? Anyone else got a question? That's a great one. I love the look of Iron Jaws. Want to paint some? They're fantastic. I'm not the biggest fan of the basic Ardboy. I feel like the Brutes did a much better job of like making them seem, I don't know, like Iron Jawsy. Like the basic to me, Ardboy just in terms of like, not having the same dents in their armor, being more curved rather than jagged, they just feel a little different. But again, they are a little different when it comes to the lore behind them. So shoving Iron Jaws against Stormcast is a good call. Yeah, I think if for a demo game, if you're not using, again, any allegiance abilities, nothing like that, probably take... What would I take as the leaders? Stormcast, you could just do like a Lord Celestin. It's a pretty straightforward war scroll. Trying to think of what else I would do for Iron Jaws. Maybe a War Chanta, something like that. Let's see. Our boys are really old models. They were Black Orcs in metal, if I recall. Eventually, yeah, at some point they were. They're plastic now, but they were at some point. The old metal ones. Yeah, the unit itself has been around for quite a long time. Let me see, I'm just touching up some red here towards the top of the horns, kind of just adding some color in. Just little hints of red. Let's see. That definitely helps. I like the idea of playing the entire first turn. Make the rules explanation flow better. Yeah, and that was a situation where it's like, again, people learn differently. Some folks, they might show up for a demo and they just want to take the quick start rules, sit to the side and read them, because some people are like that. I mean, in the chat, Ben, he's like that. He could just sit there and read a book and the rule book and understand the game. And I'm like, nope. I need to fail at least 13 times before this gets into my brain. Pretty much. Oh man. Let's see. Have you by chance checked the in-store deal where you can pick like 10 Citadel paints and you get one free? Also, anyone know the price by any chance? I mean, depending on what country you're in, I can't quite tell you. I don't really know, but no, I haven't. I actually, since I moved to Iowa, I'm a little bit bummed. I was spoiled before because I had a great GW store, nice and local, and now the nearest one is, I think, about an hour and a half away. It's over in Des Moines. Gotta go. Hey, see ya. Let's see. Question: how do you avoid hype? Hobby ADD. I keep getting into lots of different projects, ideas without ever seeing one to completion. Well, you're asking the wrong person. And I say that as a joke. I'm going to help you out here in a sec. But I am somebody who I get very excited for different projects. I jump into them with both feet. But one thing I do is I do paint up usually around 1,000 points of an army before I trade it. So if you're asking like how do I stay motivated on a project, there's a few things we can talk about. So one of them is just giving yourself different things to paint. So got this Varengar here. It's a good example. He's got a nice bone color with in the armor, and then Balthazar gold trim. If I had to paint 100 dudes like this, I would jump off a bridge, okay? Like back to back to back. Instead, mix it up. Sometimes I paint something like this. Sometimes I paint something like this. And just having multiple projects to go back and forth with so that you don't get burned out on a singular one, I think is a great way. I think that army planning has helped me a lot. So for example, like I don't just buy random stuff and then I didn't just buy, like, for example, a single Space Marine captain and was like, I'm going to play Space Marines now. It's like, no, I plan my purchases. How far do I want this to go, right? I'm not going to buy, was it Pleasure and Pain, the Slanesh and Daughters of Cain box? Because, at the end of the day, do I want to have either of those armies? Not really. Not my fave. So I didn't buy them. you know, and that kind of stuff. And that honestly helps thinking about projects like that. It honestly can help. You know, just kind of taking it out to the nth degree. As far as hype goes, like, do I really want this? Am I really going to play this? All that kind of stuff. Let's see. As far as how to avoid it, you know, it's not easy. So mapping out before you make a purchase, mapping out, you know, what you want from it at the end. You know, I want for the Space Marines, I want a narrative army that I can play a Crusade campaign in. That's it. That, you know, and technically I already have it, but then, you know, some other stuff came up and was available, and I was like, oh, that's a great deal. I'll grab it up just in case I want it later. That's it. That's all it has to be. Whereas, you know, my next big project that I'm going to be doing, like say like flesheater quartz, that kind of thing, I want an army. I want to be able to field a 2,000 point army. And at that point, you know, that's when I'm going to start thinking about, okay, what's the theme that I want? How am I going to map out what's going to be there? And that way you can kind of create a hit list, if you will, of like, I need to paint these models to create the army that I envision. And, you know, from there, you just kind of build up. And that's what I would suggest. Honestly, the biggest piece there to take away is just before you buy something, think about if you actually want to, like, how far you want to take that project. If you're someone who's like, I want to buy the, you know, the Daughter Kane Slanesh box, but all I want to do is paint those models and then sell them on eBay. Okay, just do that. It's a self-contained, you know, that kind of stuff where it's like, you know, I don't know. It's all right there. There's no real thinking involved. Let's see. Doug literally gives me hobby ADD. I've been accused of that multiple times. I've had people say like, hey, listen, I love your videos. I'm going to duck out for a bit because I can't afford to do this next project because I was thinking about doing them, and you're just going to push me over the edge. It's like, okay, you do you. I don't feel like I'm that persuasive, but all right. And if you fall for it, go to Discount Games Inc. because Jason's an awesome guy. That's about it. That's all I got. All right. Let's see. Currently having to isolate from COVID here in the UK, and these hobby hangouts have been amazing to chill and paint along with. Oh, you're very welcome. You are so welcome. At this point, we're pretty much done with the official while you're reforging stuff. And we're just hanging out and painting, which is, you know, not a bad way for these shows to end. Except for that one time where I had an alarm go off because I forgot that I have a phone call I have to hop on here in about half an hour. But we could throw a wash on this guy before we hang up for the day. Just gotta throw some depth into the skull on his chest before we get into the highlights on it. And now everything's dry enough to throw some wash inside the weapons. I'll do that real quick. Worst part about starting Space Marines now is that some of the stuff I want hasn't been released yet. Honestly, yeah, I took care of all the basic infantry and stuff, like you know, in terms of the stuff that I've been getting. But at the same time, it's like all I want is those land speeders. I think they're the coolest models. But we'll get them eventually. And then I'll let all the people who are uber diehard Space Marine players, you know, for forever, buy them all first. They'll go out of stock. And then when it comes back around the second time, then it'll be Doug's time to shine. Which is pretty much how I approach any hobby purchase. Let the people who actually like have been waiting for it forever to get it, and then I'll worry about myself later. Well, with all of that, I think we're about ready to roll. So friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's been a great time. Still got a little bit more work to do in the Varengar, but you know, at this point, I'm just kind of picking out like specific areas. So I have to wait for everything to dry before I can go to the next one and so on. But he's coming along pretty well. I'll be sure to take some good pics before I ship him off back to take over Mars. But yeah, friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and we will be doing this. Cody, I just got your question. I do have to hop off because I got a phone call I have to take. But your question about how to deal with toxic players, be sure to ask that again. Please, please, please. Tomorrow will be all about the reveals, but after that, ask it again, and my friend, we will talk all about it, because I got thoughts. I got words. Yeah. Anyway, friends, I will talk to you all very, very soon, and have yourselves a wonderful afternoon, and happy wargaming.